Today, we're talking about a growing trend. More countries are blocking Americans from entry, and the list is expanding for 2025. The American passport, once a golden ticket, is losing its power as politics and conflict reshape global travel. This isn't just about vacations, it's about how international tensions impact our ability to connect and explore. Let's break down the 7 countries now blocking Americans, why it's happening, and what it means for the future of travel. This isn't fear-mongering, it's about being informed and prepared for a changing world. Let's get into it. First up is Russia, a country now almost entirely closed to Americans. Years of rising tensions, sanctions, and the war in Ukraine have led to strict entry bans for U.S. citizens. It's not just tough visa rules. Most Americans are outright denied, whether tourists, students, or business travelers. Russia frames this as reciprocity for U.S. sanctions, but it's also a clear message. The era of openness is over. The U.S. State Department's Level 4 Do Not Travel advisory warns of harassment, wrongful detentions, and little embassy help if you get in trouble. Even those with valid reasons, journalists, family ties, face immense scrutiny and risk. The Kremlin's list of banned Americans now includes not just politicians but actors, business leaders, and academics. The dream of seeing Red Square or the Hermitage is, for now, out of reach. This is more than policy. It's a statement of deepening division. The casualties are everyday people who just want to experience another culture. Russia's doors are closed, and the wall between our countries is higher than ever. For American travelers, Russia is now a dream deferred. The new Iron Curtain is real, and it's bureaucratic. Next is North Korea, the world's most isolated nation. For Americans, the door has been locked since 2017, after the tragic case of Otto Warmbier. The U.S. government legally forbids its citizens from traveling there, citing extreme risk of arrest and detention. North Korea's regime sees Americans as enemies and potential bargaining chips. Even in the past, visits were tightly controlled with no real freedom or genuine interaction. Now, even those limited tours are gone. The few diplomatic channels that existed have frozen. Penalties for unauthorized entry are severe. Years of hard labor, no due process, and no real hope of help. The Swedish embassy, once a lifeline, has scaled back operations. North Korea remains the ultimate no-go zone for Americans, sealed off by hostility and fear. It's a stark reminder, some places are simply beyond reach. For 2025, nothing has changed. Americans are firmly shut out. The Hermit Kingdom lives up to its name. Third is Iran, a country with a rich history but a modern relationship with the U.S. defined by deep mistrust. Decades of conflict, sanctions, and failed diplomacy have made travel for Americans nearly impossible. Officially, you can only visit on a government-approved tour, with a guide at all times, but most applications are rejected. Americans who do enter face real danger. Iran has detained U.S. citizens on vague charges, using them as bargaining chips. The U.S. State Department's Level 4 advisory warns of kidnapping, arrest, and no consular help. There's no U.S. embassy. Iran's incredible sites and culture are off-limits, deepening the divide between people. The risk is simply too high, and the door remains closed. For now, Iran is another country lost to politics and suspicion. The chance for cultural exchange is gone, replaced by fear and uncertainty. For Americans, Iran is a destination you can only dream about. Venezuela, once a jewel of South America, is now a nation in crisis and nearly impossible for Americans to visit. Diplomatic ties are severed, there's no U.S. embassy, no consular help, and no official support if you get into trouble. The country faces rampant violent crime, kidnappings, and a collapsed infrastructure. Americans are seen as targets, and the U.S. State Department's Level 4 advisory warns of extreme danger. Shortages of food, medicine, and basic services make even daily life a struggle. The Maduro regime views the U.S. as an enemy, and Americans risk detention or worse. Airlines have suspended flights, and entry requirements change unpredictably. There's no law outright banning Americans, but the reality is a de facto ban. Venezuela's natural wonders are overshadowed by chaos and risk. For travelers, it's simply not an option. The country is closed, not by decree but by crisis. For now, Venezuela is off the map for Americans. The dream of visiting is just that, a dream. Number 5 is Cuba, so close to the U.S., yet so far for most Americans. The U.S. embargo, not Cuban law, blocks American tourism. Brief periods of openness have vanished. Now, only specific categories like family visits or research are allowed. General tourism is strictly forbidden, with heavy penalties for violations. Cuba faces its own economic crisis, with shortages and unrest making travel even harder. The U.S. has put Cuba back on its state sponsors of terrorism list, adding more complications and risks. The U.S. Embassy in Havana is barely operational, offering little help to travelers. Cuba wants American visitors, but U.S. policy keeps the door closed. The dream of open travel is on hold, replaced by a 60-year-old stalemate. For most Americans, Cuba remains out of reach. The island is close in distance but worlds away in reality. The travel ban endures, with no end in sight. Libya, on the Mediterranean, is a country lost to chaos. Since the fall of Gaddafi, civil war and lawlessness have made it one of the world's most dangerous places. The U.S. Embassy closed in 2014 and there's no diplomatic presence or support for Americans. The State Department's Level 4 advisory warns of terrorism, kidnapping, and total instability. No visas are issued to Americans, and even if you could enter, you'd face unpredictable checkpoints and militias. Libya's incredible Roman ruins and desert landscapes are now inaccessible. The country is a patchwork of warring factions, with no central authority or safety. For Americans, Libya is completely off-limits, a no-go zone erased from the travel map. The tragedy is not just lost access but the loss of a nation's heritage to conflict. Until peace returns, Libya remains closed to the world. Last is Syria, a country devastated by civil war and closed to Americans. The Assad regime sees the U.S. as an enemy, and any American is a potential target. The U.S. Embassy has been closed since 2012 with no consular help available. The State Department's Level 4 advisory warns of terrorism, kidnapping, and active conflict. Syria's ancient cities and cultural treasures are now war zones, many destroyed or inaccessible. Terrorist groups and government forces alike pose extreme risks to foreigners. Americans have been detained or disappeared with no hope of rescue. For now, Syria is not a destination, it's a humanitarian crisis. The door is closed and the risks are absolute. Syria is a place Americans can only witness from afar. So there you have it. Russia, North Korea, Iran, Venezuela, Cuba, Libya, and Syria. 7 countries, 7 closed doors, each for different reasons but with the same result. Americans shut out. It's a reminder that a passport's power depends on global politics, not just personal desire. As tensions rise, more countries could follow suit. Travel is about connection, and when doors close, we lose more than just vacation options. We lose understanding. Stay informed, stay curious, and always check travel advisories. Which country surprised you most? Let us know in the comments and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.